Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some hidden gems from the 90s. Now, this was a hard one because the
Yes,
90s was quite a weak decade for horror movies, and
very.
the good horror movies really stand out because there weren't as many horror movies in that decade. It was actually quite hard to find hidden gems
Yeah,
because I feel
yeah,
like everyone's dug out all the horror movies they can possibly get from the 90s.
yeah. And you got some gems like the really good, well-loved films like Sixth Sense, and you got Event Horizon, and on the surface it looks like, oh, it's a great decade. Look at all these, but if you look at year by year, they're pretty shit compared to like the 80s or the noughties. Hell of a
Oh,
difference.
yeah, hands down.
Yeah. So my first pick. Now you probably see a lot of people put this on the list, but I love this film, and it is a very hidden gem. And it is Stir of Echoes. Came out 1999 with Kevin Bacon. I was lucky enough to see it in the cinema. I think it got lost because of the Sixth Sense. I saw it in 2000, but it was released in America in 99, the exact same year as Sixth Sense. And it's got a similar plot. A guy can see dead people. So basically, Kevin Bacon gets hypnotized, and it opens his mind to seeing dead people, and his house is haunted by this little girl, this young, well, teenager, and he's trying to solve the mystery. And I absolutely love this movie. It's a genuine hidden gem. A lot of people might have heard of it, but maybe avoided it because it was a flop. But it was it was a commercial flop, not a no. It was a yes, it was a commercial flop, not a critical flop. Yes, what do you think of this one?
I've watched it once years ago. I couldn't sit here and talk about it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it. It's not really one I've ever thought about after watching it once. I didn't hate it, but it was just a bit of a throwaway movie for me. Now, Sixth Sense, on the other hand, with you saying
Yeah, yeah.
it got lost because it came out the same year as Sixth Sense, it's for a good cause. I've seen that movie 20 plus times.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it's a shame because that same year, The Haunting came out with the one with Liam Neeson, which was shit, and I think that did far better.
Yeah, yeah, and it's got Owen Wilson in it.
Yeah, it's fucking shit.
Yeah, yeah,
And the Haunting of Hill House, or the Hill. Oh, it's called something else. No,
yeah, Haunting of Hill
no,
House.
the no. I'm sure it's called the Haunting the Hill. No, yeah, it's not called. No, the series is called that. Anyway, it was shit. It had Ty
Yeah, yeah, I
Diggs
know
in
the
it.
film you're on about.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, it was awful. And you
House on
had
Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill. I knew it was the
Yeah,
other way
and
around.
they did a sequel as well.
Yeah, and he had Jeffrey Rush in it, which is always good to watch, but it was crap. But yes, definitely, if you get a chance, you need to check out Stir of Echoes. It is a simple plot line, written by Richard Matheson, the guy who did I Am Legend as well. And yeah, it's a definitely one to check out.
There we are, guys. Right, my first pick. Now, this is a proper hidden gem. I've got Idle Hand from
Love this.
1999, right? And growing up at the age I am now, I was actually shocked as to how many people haven't seen this movie or even heard of it, because I had this one on VHS when I was a kid and I watched it on repeat. Growing up, I did the same thing, and then when I started talking to people about movies, I was shocked to find out no one had seen it. It's basically what happens if you turn one scene from Evil Dead 2 into a feature-length movie.
Yeah.
So it's about this lazy guy named Anton whose hand gets possessed. He wakes up one day, his parents have been absolutely butchered in the house, doesn't know who done it, there's a murderer on the loose. He finds out his hand is possessed. He ends up chopping it off to try and stop it killing people. Like Evil Dead 2, that doesn't stop anything.
Yeah.
The hand obviously has a mind of its own, and it scatters off and starts killing people around his town. You've got Devon Sawyer, Jessica Alba, Seth Green with a bottle in his head. Honestly, if you're into horror comedy, Idle Hands is an insane ride, guys. It's got a possessed hand wreaking havoc, plenty of laughs, and some serious what the fuck moments.
Yeah.
Perfect mix of gory and goofy fun.
Yeah, I was working at Blockbuster at the time, and somebody mentioned it to me. He said, "You got to watch this film." And when we worked there, we were able to have 7 free rentals a week. So I was just jumping on any old shit, and I was lucky enough to give this a go, and it was right up my street. It's got the 90s sort of flavour, sort of like just I suppose the last few years of just the American Pie era where like lad culture was massive. It's kind of gone now, isn't it? And I loved it. It's very, like you said, very Evil Dead. And it had Jessica Alba. It's the first film I saw her, and oh my god, I fell in love. She was so fucking fit.
Yeah, do you know there's a great bit in it where his possessed hand is choking him out, and similar to the humour in Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
It's just funny to see him bite his own hand to get it to release from his throat. We don't really know if he feels the pain from his hand anymore. It's just a funny scene, similar to Evil Dead. But I haven't actually gone back to this one in a fair while. Not too long. I watched it maybe 4 years ago. And it's still great. It's well made. It's got really good use of practical effects. Devon Sawyer's always a good one in the 90s. He kind of faded. He's had a bit of a comeback as of late.
Yep.
And it's got The Offspring. How 90s of them.
Oh, pure 90s. 99 he came out, isn't it? And I think the same year as American Pie. So you had all that sort of lad culture, that music, all that sort of heavy rock. I loved it. I watched it not long ago, and
oh really?
Yeah, well, I say not long ago, about a year ago, and it was sillier than I remember, but I did enjoy it, and it tickled me how sort of Devon Sawyer's character didn't really care enough that his parents were dead. He just gets over it really quickly. Like, yeah, great pick.
Sparks up a joint and he's done. Like,
yeah. My next pick is Ravenous. Now, this is a proper hidden gem. Nobody's even heard of this film. I've seen, and it came out 1990.
I have.
You have? Well, okay. It came out 1999. My God, 3 99s in one go. Now, I told you 99 was a great year.
Yeah.
So this film is absolutely bonkers, okay? It's not a normal movie. It almost doesn't have a story, okay? So it's quite difficult to sort of explain. Well, it's not hard to explain. It's basically set in the sort of, I think it's Civil War. Not really sure. I can't remember now. But in the olden days, in the Civil War times, whatever. And you've got Guy Pearce. He is he's kind of a shamed soldier. He played dead while all his soldiers, sort of his fellow soldiers, died. He pretended to be dead under all the bodies, and he's become shamed, and he's lost all credibility. And he gets summoned to this fort in the middle of the woods, and then sort of Robert Carlyle comes into it, and he's a cannibal. And the more he eats, the more people he eats, the stronger he becomes. And it's kind of vague. He is like superhuman, but it's not as on the nose as that. It's kind of implied that he's he's stronger. And that's pretty much it. There's not much narrative, but it's just a wild film. It's got a great soundtrack by Damon Albarn from Blur. If you're American fans, you may not know Blur, but they did Song 2, big hit in America. But yeah, it's a weird film. And I accidentally stumbled upon this really quick, weird story. I was going to a kickboxing tournament to compete with some friends. We got lost in Sheffield. We couldn't find it. we missed the fight, and we went to the cinema instead and watched Ravenous.
What?
I know.
Yeah,
much better decision. Yeah. Have you seen this? You're a big fan of this, you said, is it? Have you just seen it?
No. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. I know everything about it. It's actually been on my watch list for a while. I just haven't got around to it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those movies that have escaped me. So if I haven't seen it, Jenks, it is definitely a hidden gem. But I was
going to say, yeah, because if you haven't got a tattoo of it, then it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, my next pick is from George Romero and Stephen King, and we've got The Dark Half. This came out in 1993. And if you're a fan of Stephen King, The Dark Half is a must-watch. It's about a writer, Thad Beaumont, whose pen name comes to life as a dangerous, violent alter ego. And after a series of murders, his alter ego starts to come to life. And basically, he's got this alter ego that he puts into a book. And he's done with this series and he wants to be done with his character. So he writes him out of the books and he's going to kill him off. He even has a photo shoot and a funeral for him. And soon as he does this, the alter ego comes to life and starts killing people he knows, right? And he needs to stop his dark side before it completely takes over, and he's got to figure out how to stop it. Timothy Hutton plays both sides of this one. He plays Thad Beaumont, and then he plays his alter ego, George Stark. And I gotta say, he does a fantastic job of playing both of them. A little bit of makeup while you see him as George Stark, but you can kind of still tell it's Timothy Hutton. And there's a great twist in this one. I think this is what makes it great, right? And I'm not going to say the twist on the podcast because, like I've said before, I don't need to reveal twists for all movies.
Yeah.
If you're watching this video and you haven't seen it, you can go in and watch it and have a nice surprise. But it's a fantastic film. It's George Romero, Stephen King. They've done some great collabs together. It's really dark and moody. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's got George Romero's flair in it. You've got the violence. You've got the great storytelling. If you haven't seen this one and you're a fan of both of their works, I would highly recommend giving this one a watch.
Yeah, I saw this when it came out. 93, I think you said it came out, isn't it? And I did enjoy it, but it was one of those movies where I just never went back to. And I jumped in it because I love Stephen King. I jumped in it because I love George A. Romero. But for some reason, I don't know, some films, I've seen Thinner more, and that's not a very good film, but I kind of enjoyed the premise. And it pops up a lot, Dark Half, and I just don't click it. I don't know why, but I will. You've inspired me to watch it now.
It's worth another watch, Jenks. Right, so we said we were going to give you 5 picks. Unfortunately, Jenks couldn't pick one more, so we could do 6, 3 each.
Yeah, it just sounds shit on YouTube. 6. It's got to be 5.
I don't think anyone's watching the video and going, I'm not going to click on that. 6 sounds shit.
We made the thumbnail now. It's too late.
No. It all comes down to your lack of knowledge, right? So I've got 3 picks and Jenks has got 2, right? So I'm going to wrap the video up with my 3rd pick.
Do it.
And if anyone's a fan of our channel, he would know that I'm a huge fan of Italian cinema, specifically Dario Argento. Now, this one wasn't directed by him, but it was produced by himself, directed by Michele Soavi, and it's The Sect from 1991. Michele Soavi was basically Dario Argento's protege. If you're a fan of Italian cinema, you will see him scattered across every single movie you come across. He pops up in Lucio Fulci movies, Dario Argento, and he's obviously worked on and directed some of the biggest Italian horror movies. And if you're into offbeat, disturbing horror, The Sect is one to check out. It's about a school teacher named Miriam, played by Jamie Lee Curtis's sister. She basically moves into this new home and gets sucked into a creepy cult. The cult's plan revolves around using Miriam to bring about a dark supernatural ritual, and they basically want to use her body as a vessel to bring this demonic force into the world. And the tone of the movie throughout is ultra unsettling, and this movie is criminally underrated, and to most horror fans, Jenks, unknown. But I would even recommend this one to you, Jenks, because I know you're not really into Italian horror movies, but because this one came out later in 1991, the majority of them came out in the 70s and 80s to mid-80s. This is a very late entry. Italian cinema was almost dead around this time. But it's a very well-made film. I'd say it's his most American movie. I think it would fit into a lot of people who love American films, American horror films. Yeah. But this is a fantastic film. I own it on VHS and Blu-ray. That doesn't say much as to how much I like it. But I highly recommend this one, guys. I had to chuck this one on. I wanted to put this 3rd pick in just because I thought this was a great movie to recommend people, and I'm sure it's one that a lot of people wouldn't have seen.
Yeah. Listen, seeing as I've only got 2, okay, I'm just going to throw an honourable mention, because it's not a horror. We did think about putting this in, but I'm going to say Simple Plan is underrated. It's not a horror, but it's directed by Sam Raimi and it stars Bill Pullman and Billy Bob Thornton. Yes, it's not a horror, but chuck it in. It is a hidden gem. Do you agree?
I do. It's a fantastic film.
Yes.
Jenks actually wanted to include in the video. I shot him down. It's barely even a thriller.
It's definitely a thriller, but yeah. So I just threw it in last minute without telling you. Anyway, great pick. Right, guys, if you love horror, if you love ranking, please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.